Hello and welcome to this exclusive interview. My name is Sean and I'm from H2O Global News. I'm joined today by Alan Cunningham and George Heywood. They are subject matters experts at Ovarro. Thank you, Alan and George. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. It's good to be here.
So before we jump into the juicy details, it would be great to just have an overview of what Ovarro is about as a company and just a basic idea of what you do.
Thanks, Sean. So Ovarro provide a portfolio of products and services to the global water industry and other similar utility industries such as oil and gas and energy. And that ranges from things like hardware data collection devices, so loggers and remote telemetry units that collect data out on the networks and control pumps in the sites, up to leakage detection equipment that listens to acoustic sounds on water networks and detects leaks, and providing other equipment for finding leaks on networks, and then up to analytics software packages. So we provide telemetry and SCADA systems for looking at alarms in sites and on the network more generally, and then analytics package that collect all that data together and present it to the users in various ways. So the two products that we're going to be talking about today, one is Alarm Vision that looks at alarms coming into the control rooms, and the other is Burst Detect, which looks at bursts on rising mains in the sewerage network.
Okay, well, that's all exciting stuff, and I think that it is at the top agenda of many people around the world at the moment. Water management is becoming more and more important, but also more and more difficult in many ways. What would you say are some of the key challenges facing the water industry at the moment?
So, yeah, lots of challenges, Sean, at the moment, certainly. And I think to pick out three kind of general ones, which cover quite a wide scope. I think I'd start with saying increased expectations is the general challenge that a lot of water companies are facing. They're under pressure from regulators, from customers, and from the public in general to improve their performance in a number of different areas. So for example, we're all becoming more aware of the environmental challenges that we're facing as a society, and cleaning up the environment, and particularly the rivers, has always been a priority for the water industry. And we've done a lot to improve the quality of continuous discharges to the rivers, but we still need to do a lot more to reduce intermittent discharges from CSOs and also pollution events because of asset failures like rising main bursts and sewer blockages. And then in the clean water side, there's the continuing drive to reduce leakage, of course, that keeps on going, and also the interruptions to supply that are often associated with burst mains and the resulting repair work. And then you can add on top of that all the challenges of climate change. We all need to do more, don't we, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and it's great that some of the water companies are really beginning to take that seriously now. So, and then I think that the second area of challenge is the perennial one of reducing funding and funding constraints, particularly in the heavily regulated water industries like we have here in the UK. And I think in the longer term, the COVID crisis is only going to make that worse as we begin to have to pay back the debts that we've taken on during the pandemic. And then I think as a third challenge, I would say digital transformation, and this is both a challenge and an opportunity. It's a challenge for the water industry to keep up with the pace of change, but it's also a great opportunity to use those new technologies to solve some of these first challenges. And at Ovarro, it's certainly something that we're very focused on trying to bring together a range of digital technologies as part of that transformation process to help the water companies address these challenges.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, George. Yeah, I think as you mentioned, we have all of these challenges on the one side, but we also presented with a lot of new opportunities. How would you say the digital transformation that you mentioned opens up new avenues for the water industry?
So I think in terms of the opportunities that get opened up, what water companies have said in kind of sort of recent years is they've been very much data rich and information poor. They've been collecting lots of information on their network through logging devices and telemetry units and so on, but they haven't really had a way of bringing that data together and looking at the big picture. So the idea behind digital transformation is that we can now start seeing through this data and thereby making kind of understanding in more detail what's going on in the network and making better, more informed decisions about what actions to take. So a good example of that is in the control rooms that water companies would typically have with alarms being raised on their network in response to things like pump failures or devices not being able to communicate or power failures or all these things that might be going on in the network, high levels, low levels, bringing those into centrally and then taking the action in response to those. And one of the issues that companies have traditionally had is that they struggle to see the wood for the trees, because in amongst all the really important sort of alarms saying this pump has stopped or this reservoir is getting too low, there's lots of nuisance and distracting alarms. So you might, for example, have a device that's in an area with poor mobile signal that raises an alarm every time it struggles to communicate in. And that's the kind of thing that if you can understand that and address it, then you can free up more time for the operators to be looking at the more important events. And other things that happen are, you get instances, if you have a power cutter to site, you might get sort of 20 alarms coming through saying pump 1 stopped, pump 2 is stopped, this dosing thing has stopped. And then what the operator has to do is look through that list, and hopefully there's one that says the mains power has failed, in which case you can sort of disregard all of the others. So that's kind of the driver behind our new alarm vision software, which is allowing water companies and in fact any company that has to manage similar alarm systems to see the big picture as to those alarms that are coming in, which ones are coming up too often and either need to be reconfigured, or if there's a genuine problem there, the root cause of what is causing that needs to be addressed. And thereby water companies can both understand and reduce the problem, so they can go and sort out the particular issues that need to be investigated, and they can also do things like look at the overall volume of alarms and how many people they need to staff their control rooms, and whether they need shift patterns, for example. Are there particular times of the day when alarms are more likely and you need more people? How do you deal with out of hours situations overnight when it might be more expensive to call people out? And just generally manage the network more efficiently.
Thank you, Alan. So clearly it has a big role to play. And I think for water professionals, one of the biggest issues of concern is contamination, it's environmental pollution. So what would you say specifically on that front? How do Ovarro's technologies and solutions help water managers actually mitigate the risk of environmental pollution?
So there's a few of our products that feed into that area, including alarm vision, as Alan has mentioned. But just to give you one recent example of something that we've been working on over the last year, one of our customers came to us with the problem of rising main bursts that were causing quite severe pollution incidents for them, leading to obviously damage to the environment, but also regulatory penalties and fines, and sometimes quite large cleanup costs for the company. So these are the bursts that happen on the pressurized sewers downstream of the pumping stations. So obviously the wastewater system is mostly gravity system, unpressurized, but there are these parts of the network which are pressurized where we need to pump sewage out of a low point in the catchment. And often the bursts in these rising mains are not being detected by current monitoring systems. And it's the first way that the water company knows about the problem is that a member of the public, perhaps walking their dog early in the morning, has found a big growing pool of sewage that's being caused by this rising main burst. And that's not something that the wastewater companies want to find out about in that way. That they really want to find out before the damage has been done, so that they can do something to prevent it. So our challenge was to try to use the data from the existing monitoring to detect these bursts more quickly. And we worked on developing a machine learning algorithm that would look at the pump on-off signals, the pressure data where there are pressure data being monitored, and flow data where there are flow data, and use those to detect unusual situations that look like they might be a rising main burst, and then send an alert to the customer so that they can look a bit more closely at it, send someone if it looks like it might be a burst, then send someone to the site to investigate and hopefully turn off the pumps before too much damage has been done. And we've been getting very good results from this so far from a number of trials with water companies.
Thank you, George. And I think a crucial part of this is actually allowing people who are managing water and in the space to access the data and interpret it. And this brings us back to what we were speaking about with the digital transformation. And part of that, and something that is really rising in popularity, is cloud analytics. They've really changed the way that we can access and interpret data. So just to specifically talk about cloud analytics and how that applies to your technology at Ovarro.
Yes, so we're talking here obviously about analytical software that is running instead of on your servers in your offices. It's running on servers in the cloud, and it's usually licensed on a monthly or an annual basis rather than through a kind of one-off investment. And our both of the solutions that we've mentioned today are in that category. They are cloud-based analytics solutions. And there's a few advantages over more traditional software. So first of all, there's no large initial capital cost, either for licensing or for purchasing the hardware that's needed and setting it all up. And that's good for the customer and also for the supplier. And it's easier to deploy the software as well, again, both for the customer and for the supplier. In the case of Burst Detect, all we need to do is to add a new customer to the table that contains the customers, and there's a little bit of work to set up the data flow from the customer's SCADA system into the cloud system. But apart from that, it's very quick and easy to do, and that means that it doesn't need to be a long-term commitment. The customer can see if it works, can assess the benefits, and just for a short period if necessary, and do that at very low risk. And also, often these solutions are using machine learning and artificial intelligence techniques. And again, these have a reduced configuration, a reduced setup requirement. The algorithms, certainly in the case of Burst Detect, the algorithms learn what normal looks like for this particular set of assets, and that they don't have to be told, you don't have to do an asset-specific configuration. And then finally, I think that perhaps the most powerful advantage of this technology is that as the size of the data set grows, the quality of the results that are produced can also grow, because these machine learning algorithms feed off data, and the more data, the larger the data set that gets assembled across several companies and many assets and over a longer period of time, then the better results that will come out of these solutions.
Okay, fantastic. So, I mean, essentially on a broad scale, it's making life easier at the ground level for the water professional, which I think is something that is actually essential at the moment, and it's something that has been lacking in the past. So technology is really helping there. And I remember, Alan, earlier you spoke about leakage. Leakage is still such a big problem, not just in the UK, not just in Europe, but across the world. You know, billions of gallons of really crucial, safe drinking water being lost to leakages. So just on a final note, can you tell us a bit more about Ovarro's leakage solutions? How do you help mitigate loss from leakages?
Yes, so there's various parts to managing leakage. There's firstly kind of finding out where the leaks are, and then going and pinpointing them, and then going and repairing them in a robust way. And kind of Ovarro provides solutions for all parts of that journey. But I think the bit that I probably want to talk about most is on finding the leaks on networks. Now, acoustic techniques for detecting leakage are well established. They've been used in some form or another for over 100 years. But now what we've got is much more clever solutions for finding leaks, particularly on plastic networks where it's been hard in the past. And what we've got there is our correlating hydrophone loggers. So what they do is, instead of listening to the wall of the pipe, which on a plastic network isn't going to transmit noise very far, they actually listen in to the column of the water. And you can install them kind of up to sort of 750 meters apart, and the loggers within an area will correlate to determine where the leak is coming from in your network, and that's sort of a real game changer in managing the plastic networks that are kind of much more common both in the UK and globally. That traditionally managing leakage has been very difficult on, and we also offer what are called accelerometer acoustic loggers that are much more cost effective on metallic mains, and overall providing the right solution for the type of network that you're looking at. Is it small or large diameter? Is it plastic or metal? Putting in the right solution, and also moving to much more to fixed networks that are detecting the leaks as they're breaking out, rather than requiring lots of manual survey efforts to either go around and sweep the area or install loggers and come back temporarily and come back and retrieve them, moving towards a much more continuous monitoring, so that leak run times are less and leakage is brought down.
That's great. Thanks for that, Alan. I really appreciate the explanation. I think it made bringing these complex technologies down to earth for all of our viewers, and so that we can all see how these technologies actually fit in to make things easier, essentially, for those working in the industry. So I think that's a wrap from us today. Thank you so much, George and Alan, for joining us. It's been a real pleasure. To our viewers, you can find out more about Ovarro on their website. I will include the link at the end of this video. So thanks a lot, guys, and keep well.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you very much.